Time is a fleeting and unique resource that cannot be turned back, and yet how often we wish we could do just that. Fortunately, with the invention of photography, it became possible to capture moments of here and now, turning them into precious treasures. Rare photographs allow us to catch a glimpse of the past and, if only for a moment, immerse ourselves in the atmosphere of days long gone. We invite you to discover all of this in this captivating collection. What do you think could have brought so much joy to these people? In reality, members of the Dutch resistance were celebrating after hearing on the radio about Adolf Hitler's death, May 1945. Here is a nurse weighing a baby in North Uist, Scotland, 1959. Possibly the only photograph of 9 European kings together, taken at the funeral of King Edward VII in Windsor on May 20th, 1910. Newborn Princess Elizabeth II with her father and mother, April 1926. A Serbian soldier sleeping on a wooden pallet next to his father, who came to visit him on the front line near Belgrade, Serbia, World War I, 1915. This photograph shows a proud mother standing with her 8 sons, each of whom served in the military. She represents a symbol of military unity and patriotism, capturing a unique historical moment combining personal sacrifice with familial pride. A tragic chapter in human history, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant explosion, with catastrophic consequences. This photo shows the process of disaster cleanup, 1986. The Ohio Bigfoot girl, Fannie Mills, suffered from Milroy's disease, which caused her legs and feet to grow to enormous sizes, 1885. The atomic bomb called Fat Man dropped on the Japanese city of Nagasaki on August 9, 1945. The derailed locomotive of the Granville-Paris Express at the Montparnasse station, August 22, 1895. The train remained in this position for days and several photos were taken. A replica of the crashed locomotive was built in a theme park in Brazil. Using ducklings for medical therapy, 1956. The apocalyptic aftermath of Dresden following extensive air raids at the end of World War II. View of the city from the Rathaus Tower, 1945. An American Marine offering a cigarette to a Japanese soldier buried in sand with a grenade in his hand. Iwo Jima, 1945. The last full-blooded Aztec couple captured in a photograph, 19th century. A little girl with a grizzly bear, mid-20th century. This photo illustrates a gas station owner's refusal to refuel Lada cars until the USSR withdrew from Afghanistan, Toronto, 1980s. The moment of the World Trade Center collapse in New York City, USA, September 11, 2001. A unique photo taken during World War II amidst the Anglo-American occupation of Italy, capturing the last eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which has remained dormant ever since. March 18, 1944. A young and promising Joe Biden, the future 46th President of the United States, 1968. A photographer uses a backdrop to conceal the ruins of World War II in Poland, Warsaw, November 1946. Famous American children's television host Mr. Rogers offered to cool his feet in a pool with Black Officer Clemens during a live broadcast in 1969, breaking racial barriers. In this photo, they recreate the scene during their last appearance together, 1993. Lovers in the Tuileries Garden during the Nazi occupation of Paris, 1944. An injured Japanese child and an American pilot, Saipan, 1944. September 3rd, 1967, a challenging day as Sweden transitioned from left to right-hand traffic. Albert Einstein with his stepdaughter Margot on his lap at the World's Fair in Flushing Meadows, Queens, 1939. The Hugo brothers, also known in France as the Alpine Giants, with their family in 1910. Baptiste Hugo stood at 2.3 meters or 7 foot 7 inches, while his younger brother Antoine was 2.26 meters or 7 feet 5 inches. The first photo of Nirvana, 1988. A mother teaches her children numbers and the alphabet in a sharecropper's cabin, Transylvania, Louisiana, 1937. Siamese twins, a photo from the book Prophecy of the Past, Zohar Studios' The Lost Years, which depicts the mythical world of a photo studio founded by a Jewish immigrant in the 1850s. Benedictine nuns splashing in the Pacific Ocean during their vacation in Grayland, 1960. Thomas Edison's electric car participated in a 1,000-mile endurance race against gasoline cars. Unfortunately, it lost. September 17, 1910. Strive for great heights. A construction worker is transported to his job on a 30-story skyscraper on New York's waterfront, 1890. Giraffe feeder. Circus strongman Paul Ramos and his young sons feed a giraffe at the London Zoo, circa 1950. Tubing on the Salt River, Arizona, 1980. During World War II, the Finns used ground-level camouflage to hide from the Russians. Photo, 1941. A painter dangling from the Eiffel Tower, early 20th century. A boy sits reading A History of London among the ruins of a bookstore after an air raid, London, October 8, 1940. The massive steamship Titanic in dry dock, 1911. The harsh conditions of the Australian Antarctic expedition, 1913. Exiled King Peter of Yugoslavia and his son Prince Alexander prepare to enter a space machine at a children's art exhibit in the Horticultural Hall, December 31, 1953. Engineer Bill English testing the first computer mouse and keyboard, 1967. Knife sharpeners in the early 1900s lay down to do their work, sparing their backs during long days, while dogs warmed their feet. A soup kitchen, the only place where unemployed Americans could eat during the Great Depression, Washington, 1935. The incredible, strong artist Frida Kahlo lived her life battling physical and emotional pain, but never gave up on painting. "I'm happy to be alive as long as I can paint." 1950. An advertisement for an infrared lamp featuring Marianne Liebig, Miss Hess 1959, warming herself under artificial sunlight in a snowy park in Wiesbaden, Germany, January 18, 1960. A little girl in a homemade toy car, Harlem, 1947. In the 1950s, cigarettes were considered beneficial and were widely advertised. A striking example is a photo of a sick man buying cigarettes directly from his hospital bed. Women have always strived for beauty. A beauty salon in Long Beach, California, 1934. July 25, 1946, the second nuclear bomb test during Operation Crossroads by the U.S. at Bikini Atoll created a water column nearly 1 kilometer wide and 1.5 kilometers high, severely contaminating the lagoon. A German soldier poses with his German Shepherd, 1940s. A police officer on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle transports a prisoner in a mobile holding cell, 1921. Photographs capture the smallest shop in London from the 1910s. It was a shoemaker's workshop located at 4 Bateman Street, Soho, measuring just 1.2 square meters and fitting only one person. In 1958, the Roundhouse, designed by architect Giuni Lodovici, is transported along the Thames. This project featured a modular spherical structure, offering a creative solution to overcrowding and limited urban building space. A woman carries her children in a bucket on her head, 1900s. This photograph, taken in a rural Japanese village, highlights the challenges families faced while showcasing the resilience and ingenuity of Japanese women. Restoration and repair of Wiltshire's ancient monument, Stonehenge, were conducted between the 1920s and 1960s. The photo shows a lintel being replaced, 1919. New York, 1939, a man steps out of a police van after being arrested for cross-dressing, which was considered a crime at the time. Mayor Edgar V. Van Hoos of Louisa, Kentucky promised a 25-cent reward for each rat brought to City Hall. Here he displays the hall in the town square, 1953. August 26, 1918, an officer of the General Service Corps poses with 2 canaries perched on a cigar. Priests playing football, Seminario Consular, Madrid, 1959. "17-year-old Norma Jean Mortensen before she became Marilyn Monroe, 1943. A father, a gymnast, and amateur boxer impresses his young daughter with his skills, Melbourne, Australia, circa 1940s. British soldiers enjoying a hot bath during World War II. A flooded shopping street in Venlo, Netherlands, February 10, 1984. The family of a former circus performer turned oil businessman from Graham owned a pet lioness named Blondie. She was treated as part of the family and never caused any trouble. 1955. Phone booth stuffing, the act of cramming as many people as possible into a phone booth, became a popular craze in the late 1950s. This photo shows 22 students attempting to set a record at St. Mary's College, Moraga, California, 1959. The 8th Annual Diaper Service Derby at a North Jersey amusement park, 1946. Jungle Queen Irish Makala and her fans, 1950s. A Chinese archer, 1874. A businessman in Constantinople carrying chairs on his back to rent them to tired tourists for 10 cents, 1920. An aerial view of a DC-4 passenger plane flying over Manhattan, 1939. This is how a circus elephant was transported in the 1930s. Drying pants after a hurricane, Boston, 1938. Fisherman from Hastings, United Kingdom, 1910. Inventor Professor Meredith Thring tests one of his stair-climbing wheelchairs, Queen Mary College, Stratford, London, November 23, 1972. A builder carries a bag across a beam while working on a 71-story skyscraper on Wall Street, New York, 1930. Taxi of the past. In many Turkish bars during the 1960s, basketmen were hired to carry patrons home when they were too drunk to stand. A father and his large family, 1901. A child's seat mounted on the front of a bicycle, Amsterdam, Netherlands, 1925. Kenneth Hunter inspects the mechanisms during the legendary 23-day non-stop flight. Mid-air refueling was the key to this groundbreaking record. In 1937, USSR. Children in gas masks during civil defense training. This photo reflects the harsh reality of the time, where readiness for threats became a part of life from an early age. A 1958 photo shows a prisoner testing a safety system. Actress Trippi Hurden with her pet tiger in 1982. Einstein and Oppenheimer, two geniuses of their era, working together in the early 1940s. This moment symbolizes a meeting of minds that changed history, ushering in the atomic age. Adolf Hitler examining a new Mercedes in 1938. Louis de Rougemont became famous as one of the earliest recorded cases of a man with a remarkable beard. His distinctive appearance gained him notoriety in the 19th century due to a rare case of hypertrichosis, or excessive hair growth, with his beard starting to grow at just 12 years old, a highly unusual phenomenon. A drive-in restaurant in Portland, Oregon, 1958. A time when cars and carside dining became an integral part of American culture. This photo of factory workers shows them posing with their hands folded in a characteristic gesture, but on closer inspection there's a bizarre detail, a mysterious hand resting on one girl's shoulder. This puzzling element has spawned countless theories, turning the image into a legend. Sailors Courtney and Leanne died from poison gas aboard a ship in 1917. Weeks later, crew members claimed to see their ghostly faces appearing on the deck and in the ship's dark corners. From 1931 to 1934, Ola Cohn carved fairies, gnomes, and animals into the trunk of an old eucalyptus tree in East Melbourne, transforming it into a true work of art. Annie Edson Taylor with the barrel she used to go over Niagara Falls in 1901. She was the first person to survive this dangerous stunt. United Kingdom, 1935. This piano was a unique solution for musicians with limited mobility. A haunting story. A mother locked her daughter in the attic for 25 years, depriving her of freedom and contact with the outside world. When the girl was finally rescued, her appearance was unrecognizable. Photos before and after highlight the tragic contrast of her ordeal. The blast-off chair underwent a classified test to evaluate its resistance to extreme conditions. The image, capturing this experiment, was only declassified in recent years. A child with glowing eyes gives off an eerie and haunting impression resembling a ghost. Miners using a horse for work in a French mine in 1970. Margaret Bourke-White on the Chrysler Building rooftop in 1930, a daring photograph taken from one of New York's highest points. Hitler bidding farewell to Mussolini in April 1943. In early photography, cameras were so slow that they couldn't wait for children to remain still. To solve this, mothers hid under blankets, holding their children in place to create calm portraits. A photo of the mummified heart of the alleged vampire Auguste de Lagrange. This artifact has fascinated mystics and historians alike, becoming a key part of vampire legends. The infamous Kennedy motorcade in Houston, 1963. A two-headed dog literally assembled by mad scientist Vladimir Demikov as part of one of his experiments. 1921, Elizabeth Gardner, one of the first female pilots who participated in World War I. In the Victorian era, bathing machines like these served as a private dressing room for women. Public decency laws strictly forbade the display of the body. During World War II, the Japanese army used such structures to detect approaching aircraft. Norwegian anthologist Thor Heyerdahl on his raft, Kon-Tiki, crossing the Pacific Ocean. Heyerdahl built the raft himself and sailed from Peru to Polynesia in 101 days. Animal trainer Olga Borisova in the USSR, 1977. She was renowned for her exceptional skills and participation in circus performances. Here's what pole climbing training for telephone electricians looked like at the University of Michigan in 1918. Women working in factories in the UK during World War II. The iconic photo of President Roosevelt with Madam Chiang Kai-shek and Eleanor Roosevelt taken in 1943. The airship USS Los Angeles docked at port, awaiting departure in 1928. The first motorized roller skates, developed in Connecticut, were an innovative but risky invention. A rather unusual photo from a carnival in Illinois, 1903. The World's Fair Exhibition Universelle in Paris, 1900. This is what curling hair with rollers looked like in a 1940s beauty salon. Soldiers on the front line sending New Year's greetings. Proof that life for migrant children in Texas was extremely difficult. The legendary Hans Zimmer was already astounding audiences with his instruments in 1982. It's hard to believe, but there was a time when people in Florida protested against wearing bikinis. This photo was taken in the age of airships. The U.S. airship USS Los Angeles lands on the aircraft carrier USS Saratoga, 1927. This is what charging an electric car looked like in 1912. Little-known singer Debbie Hoare in a conical bib, which will become one of the hallmarks of Madonna's style before the Pop Music Awards ceremony, February 1985. Marilyn Monroe at a party, July 8, 1958 in Beverly Hills. On May 27, 1987, in Alba Iulia, Romania, an apartment building with a length of 100 meters and a weight of 7,600 tons was moved to create a boulevard. The whole operation was successful even without evicting the tenants in less than 6 hours. Moreover, even after more than 30 years, the building is still safe and sound. Famous scientist Nikola Tesla sits in his laboratory in Colorado Springs next to a high-voltage generator, December 1899. This is a Russian soldier playing the piano, Chechnya, 1994. Albert Einstein with a friend at Nassau Point, New York, 1939. A man takes away a part of the statue of Stalin after its dismantling, Budapest, Hungary, 1990s. This photo shows mechanics and inspectors of TWA Airlines with hubcaps on their heads engaged in the spring overhaul of giant transport aircraft at the airport, May 8, 1941, New York, LaGuardia Field. This is actress Sophia Loren in her dressing room, 1963. Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting Mona Lisa returns to the Louvre after the end of World War II, Paris, France, 1945. This is a punt gun. In fact, this is a type of very huge shotgun used in the 19th and early 20th centuries to hunt waterfowl. More than 40 ducks on the surface of the water could be killed in one shot. Stylishly dressed Al Capone and his friends in the 1930s. This was the menu of the last lunch on board the Titanic on April 14, 1912.
What an incredible footage! We always strive to choose the best content for you.
Now this is the Tasmanian tiger. The last known animal was photographed at the Berlin Zoo in 1933. It is now considered extinct. The founder of American rocket technology, Wernher von Braun, stands next to the F-1 engines that took a man to the moon, 1969. One of the unique features of winter Detroit is the ice fountain on Washington Boulevard, 1940s. Several jets of water beat all winter, resulting in massive icebergs of ice reaching a height of 9 meters, and in especially cold years, up to 18 meters. Soldiers of the 363rd Field Artillery Battalion used Japanese barber chair for cutting hair during World War II. June 10, 1945, Shuri, Okinawa, Japan. Now this is a Red Army soldier on duty on the telephone, USSR, 1925. This is inventor Chester E. McDuffie standing next to one of the first atmospheric diving suits, weighing almost 250 kilograms, 1911. A postman delivers mail on an experimental motorcycle manufactured by Indian Delivery Van, Washington, D.C., 1912. This is what the power lines and support structure looked like in an alley west of Main Street on Pender Street in Vancouver, British Columbia, March 10, 1914. In this photo, Adolf Hitler attends an event of the National Socialist Workers' Party, greeted by assault troops and the army during the early period of his rule, 1934. Filming of the American TV show Bionic Woman, 1976. Despite the good shot, in fact, the car is obviously not being held by this girl. Grigory Rasputin, a notorious adventurer and politician who gained enormous influence over the Russian royal family and retained great power until 1916, when he was assassinated. The 1910s. Influential figures of the USSR leadership from left to right: Vlas Chubar, Klim Voroshilov, Joseph Stalin, Vyacheslav Molotov, and Yakov Yakovlev dressed in Tajik national costumes during a visit to the collective farmers of the Republic, 1935. Princess Diana laughs with Rowan Atkinson, also known for his role as Mr. Bean, during a social event. This photo was taken in 1984. Fire trucks frozen in winter weather after 5 calls in Boston, 1920. This early photo portrait shows a child sitting on his mother's lap with her face covered for some reason. The date of the shooting and the identity of the people in the photo are unknown. This was often practiced at the birth of illegitimate children. This is a swimming suit made of jewel steel.
It was so cool! It's hard to comprehend how this is even possible.
This is how Halloween costumes looked at the very beginning of the 20th century. It's very creepy. Testing of multi-story parking technology, 1958. Years later, it will become the main one in the United States and then around the world. Afghan Mujahideen at one of the locations of the mountains during the Afghan War, 1984. Japanese firefighters perform traditional acrobatic tricks at high altitudes and on a not very reliable crossbar. This is a blind woman with a corresponding board, 1916. The GDR border guard jumps over the barbed wire, wanting to escape to West Berlin, controlled by Germany during the construction of the Berlin Wall. This photo was called The Leap to Freedom, 1961. Stilt dancers from the African nation of Dogon, Mali. This photo was taken in the 1970s. The last lifetime photo of the pro-Soviet president of Chile, Salvador Allende, surrounded by the remnants of the Guard during the coup of General Agustino Pinochet, 1973. $70,000 books fell off the shelves in the Library of Lorain, Ohio in 1971. This is what a chain reaction is. Dolores Hart and Elvis Presley on the set of the Loving You movie, 1957. In 1963, Dolores, despite a high-quality debut, would become a nun, and Elvis would turn into a rock and roll legend. Mother and child in the era of the Great Depression in the United States, the 1930s. Circus elephant transported by crane, early 1930s. Utah prison inmates accused of polygamy, 1885. "20-year-old Jocelyn Houari defending a building in Beirut from Palestinian fighters during the Lebanese Civil War. A mysterious object appeared in the sky above the Great Wall of China, disappearing within seconds and leaving tourists bewildered. The mysterious hornet spook lights captured in this photograph remain unexplained, fueling countless conspiracy theories about extraterrestrial visitors. A wedding photographer accidentally captured what appears to be a cult. Another set of mysterious lights was accidentally caught on camera in April 2021. The glowing phenomenon was observed above a military base, possibly related to experimental aircraft tests. A distant glimpse of 1937, New Yorkers watch as a chef prepares spaghetti in an outdoor demonstration. A rare shot from the Hot Wheels factory dated 1960. Gymnasts having fun circa 1940. Here's how New Yorkers welcomed 1938 in Times Square. An old photograph that might just capture humanity's first contact with aliens. Sometimes it's challenging to decipher the true story behind a photograph. The meanings of many historical images may remain mysteries, leaving only room for speculation.